Hello, welcome dear students of the MA Previous Linguistics and Phonetics class, that is paper 1B. Um, in the last class, I think I discussed with you about the organs of speech, and today again I'll be continuing with this topic only. Now, I've already sent you, if the students remember, I've sent you the clippings of this extract of this paper from the book, and I expect that you will be going through it when you will be reading it. Now, in the last class, we discussed about the what are organs of speech and why are they called? Like, why do we need an organs of? What is the significance of the organs of speech in emanating or uttering any kind of a sound? Now, let's continue. Let's see what exactly how we can divide and bifurcate the various organs of speech sounds, and in which way they are able to help us to understand the functions of various kinds of speech organs of our body, and what are the respective functions. Now, the lungs, as I already told you, the vocal cords, and the tongue, the teeth, and the lips are some of the organs that are described commonly in phonetic literature as organs of speech. They are the major ones. Now, the lungs are necessary for breathing, of course, everybody knows this. The vocal cords shut tightly and thus prevent the food from entering the windpipe. And the tongue is used for differentiating or, just the various kinds of tastes that we have. We can differentiate or we can find out. So, tongue is used for that, and the teeth are used for chewing the food and so on. But apart from all this, there are other functions also of these organs. In addition to these primary functions, that is, we can say that these are the primary functions of these organs. They are also referred to the involved in the production of speech, and that's why, for a better expression, we can continue to refer them as organs of speech. Now, here we can divide these organs of speech into three major groups so that we'll be able to understand and enjoy them in a much better way, and we'll be more clear about them. Now, the first one is the respiratory system. With the word respiration, you can easily make it out that the respiratory system includes the lungs, the muscles of the chest, and the windpipe, which is also called the trachea. Now, you don't have to worry about the names because these are the scientific names and you just have to remember them a bit. Otherwise, it's really worth understanding and knowing. The second part or the group of the organs of speech is phonatory system. The phonatory system, of course, is comprised of the larynx, that is the vocal cords. Phonatory, I told you, comes with the word phone, phoneme, phone, and that is the sound. So, from where does the sound comes? Of course, we have to speak. We cannot emanate the sound from anywhere unless the sound has to come out from the vibrations of our vocal cords and the throat. And of course, we have the third one is the articulatory system. And articulatory comes the word articulate or articulative or articulation, and it basically means that how much you're able to speak in the right way and the right context, how much you're able to articulate. Articulate is basically speaking. So this comprises the nose, the teeth, the tongue, the roof of the mouth, and the lips. Of course, when we're able to speak any of the sound, any of the word, there has to be a kind of a common symphony or a coordination between a few organs of our mouth. That is, some people use the nasal tone a lot, some people use the tongue a lot while speak, and some people use only the mouth. So again, a coordination of all these things is important. So let's come to the respiratory system, that is the first part of organ of speech. Now, in the respiratory system, we basically talked about it consists of lungs, the muscles, the chest, and the windpipe that we already know. Now let's understand in a short way what exactly we mean by respiratory system and how it's connected to the organs of speech. Let's come to lungs. The lungs, as you already know, are spongy bodies. They are made up of small sacs called the alveoli, and in these sacs, the blood is cleaned in its carbon dioxide and provided with fresh oxygen from the outer air. So, air is supplied to the alveoli by small tubes called the bronchioles, and The bronchioles comes together into two large tubes called the bronchi, one situated on the right and the other on the left. So the bronchi join the trachea and the windpipe. It is through the trachea that the air that we breathe in passes through the throat into the lungs, and the act that is commonly known as respiration involves two processes, that is the inspiration and the expiration. That in other words, we can also say that where the outer air into the lungs, it goes the inhaling, and the throwing out of the lungs from the other one. The taking out of the air is called the inhalation, and the throwing out of the air is called the exhalation. So it's the expiration lung air, that is the air that we breathe out, that is the basis for the articulation of the most speech sounds. I hope it is visible on your screen, but I am focusing on this and you will just see it properly. So for this reason, the airstream involved lung air is called the pulmonic airstream mechanism. So an airstream mechanism produced by, of course, an airstream mechanism works exactly the same way as a flit gun. Here is the example is given here. In a flit gun, the body of liquid that is moved by working an apparatus which is a part of the gun called a plunger. And when the plunger is moved to one direction, the liquid is pulled in air and moved out in the opposite direction. So of course it's nothing to worry about. We don't have to go in much detail with it. So there are three main airstream mechanisms that we have to focus on here. These are called the pulmonic, the glottalic, and the velaric airstream mechanisms. Now, the pulmonic, of course, airstream mechanism consists of lungs and the respiratory system. The walls of the lungs act as an initiator. They are moved by the respiratory muscles. And the airstream mechanism is used to push air out, it is called the egressive, and the air is called the, and when it is used to draw the air in, it's called the ingressive. So this is what you have to understand a bit in order to understand the respiratory system of the organs of speech. So there is nothing too much to focus upon in this first part of the respiratory system, except that you just have to take care about the lungs, the muscles, the chest, and the windpipe, the trachea. That is, these are the main functions of the first part. Now, the next one is the phonatory system. Let's come to the second group, that's the phonatory system. Now, as is already said, the phonatory system comprises of the larynx. The larynx is commonly called the Adam's apple, situated at the top of the windpipe. You can just touch just in front of the neck, the throat, you can touch the Adam's apple, the windpipe, and you can easily find it out. The air from the lungs has to come out through the windpipe and the larynx. In the larynx situated a pair of lip-like structure. These are called the vocal cords. So now the diagram of the vocal cords is given here. This is a lip-like structure inside the larynx, and these are placed horizontally from front to back. They are attached in front and can be separated at the back. So the opening between the opening between the cords is called the glottis. So this is the diagram there here, and in the diagram you can actually see that the glottis. Where is the glottis? The epiglottis, upper part, and the vocal cords. So these are the two vocal cords. Figure 2 that is being focusing on. Now, the vocal cords, I think, play a very important role in the emanating of the speech sounds. The vocal cords can be opened and closed because they can be separated at the back. And when the two cords come very close to each other, the glottis will be shut completely. So, when we swallow food or water, the vocal cords shut the glottis and thus prevent the food or water from entering the windpipe. So, two kinds of pipes you already know. We have here the food pipe and the windpipe. And this is what the role it is being played. So, when we breathe in and out, the vocal cords are drawn wide apart and thus the glottis is open. So the air enters the lungs or gets out of the lungs through the wide open glottis, and when we produce some speech sounds, the vocal cords are wide open and the glottis called the voiceless. Now some sounds are produced with a wide open glottis are called voiceless sounds or breathe sounds, and the other one, the sounds in English are in which the vocal cords don't vibrate, they are called the voice sounds. Like the first sounds in English, for example, you can say is the word peel, ten, keen, chin, fine, thin, seen, shine, and hat are voiceless sounds. So during the production of certain speech sounds, the vocal cords are loosely held together and the pressure of the air from the lungs make them open and close rapidly. This is called the vibration of the vocal cords, and the sounds produced when the vocal cords vibrate are called the voice sounds. So when the vocal cords vibrate, it is voiced, and the vocal cords don't vibrate, it is unvoiced. So we can say all the sounds in English, like you have bead, deed, girl, judge, wine, then, zoo, measure, need, wing, red, yard, are all voice sounds. You can just repeat these words together, and you can just check that are the vocal, you touch the throat, and you can see the vocal cords are vibrating or not. And this is the way you can find the difference. Like you can take the word peel and you can take the word deed. Peel, deed. 10, girl. Where is the stress that's coming? So this is a kind of a practice of these words, and you can just easily understand it through the practice of some of the words which are being mentioned here, and then you'll be able to differentiate clearly between these voiced and voiceless sounds. So I'll end the class here, and we'll continue with this. I'll be explaining it in more detail in the next class. Thank you.